Hello everyone, War Thunder's been kind of quiet lately, both in content and in new updates and stuff that I have to talk about. So instead today I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to do a bit of live gameplay as I grind out my Izmail and kind of try to put an emphasis on my thoughts as I go through the game, what I'm thinking of, how I'm approaching different situations, and generally giving some insight in how I play. This may be a bit scuffed, I haven't tried something like this before, so I apologize in advance, and I'll probably do some mispronunciation along the way if you want to make fun of me for that. But without further ado, I'll skip ahead a little bit to once I get into a battle, and I'll start talking about my thought process as I go through it. Alright, so I got into a match, and as always with top tier, it's everybody's favorite, the open water circle. And this is a fairly empty match. I'm playing at somewhat off hours for times that I normally play. We're going to have about 5 players in here, and there are some on par ships with me that I do have to be worried about. And they're, well, that's not really a worry, but it looks like they're mostly on the other side of, well, where my bow is pointed. So I don't entirely have to worry about them yet. I will have to worry about them because Izmail does like to lose its shell rooms fairly easily and start to flood you out, and if they hit 2, you're most likely just going to flood out completely. So this ship does have its weaknesses, though I have found it to be rather tanky for a battlecruiser. What else can I talk about? Let's see, Izmail, I do like these 14-inch guns. I think they're not that much of an upgrade over the 12s, especially for the longer reload that they have. But they are pretty devastating, though I do miss the semi-armor piercing that the 12-inch guns had. This one does get some base fuse high explosive. That acts a lot like armor piercing, but it's just, sorry, semi-armor piercing. Like I said, this is going to be a little scuffed because I'm trying to talk on the fly. But it's just not the same. I do like the Soviet semi-armor piercing. These shells definitely aren't as fast as later ships had, and definitely not as fast as the cruisers either. And they do have quite a bit of flight time to them that I liken more to the British battleships, though these do seem to hit harder and are a lot more consistent. So that's a player in a... mind blanked for a moment. I was going to say Prince Eugen class, but no, it's an Admiral Hipper. And I'm going to try to take him out, not because he's a threat, but just because he's an easy target. He seems to be sailing in a straight line, not really paying attention, and I'm going to see if I can just drop him off the map with that first shot to his forward batteries. It does seem like he came pretty close to exploding right there. He's flooding out pretty heavily. That is another Russian battleship that I'll probably have to worry about. That's either another Izmail or a Poltava. I have a hard time picking them apart. Let's see, he's recovering from flooding, so if I lead these shots a little bit, I might be able to hit his rear magazines with those shots, and I'll get him out of the battle before he can really get into that circle. He's still sailing in a straight line, which makes him a really easy target, which is rather bad news for him. Yeah, bot running into me. And I'm not going to get anything with that one. He sped up a little bit faster than I thought he was going to. So that smaller German battleship's on my side there. I will have to worry about him in a little bit, and I'm not going to overly push this because there's no reason for me to at the moment. I'm in the circle. My team's mostly in the circle. That's angled towards me, so I don't really want to fight it. This guy is turning back to the side, so I'm going to aim... Nope, that guy's turning too. How about... That's kind of a dangerous ship right there for me. I should be able to penetrate that and set him on fire, and he probably will explode fairly easily. But I'll worry about him in a minute. I'm going to try to take out this bot and then take out that Admiral Hipper again. Or attempt to take out that Admiral Hipper again. He just turned. I think my shells are still going to hit. Not terrible. But I'm going to try to get that Admiral Hipper and that other cruiser out of the circle, so that we can put ourselves back in the lead per amount of ships being in the circle. Basically, I'm going to try to get rid of the easy targets in the circle first to give my team that advantage, and then I'll work on the harder ships in the game unless the enemy battleships actually start to engage me, which I am still worried about. Like I said, this battlecruiser, the Russian one off to my side there, that's a good hit right there. It didn't look like it did a lot of damage, but it is a pretty decent hit. I am a little bit worried about that German battleship off to my side, but he's got pretty small guns and the Russian ships have a decent amount of armor, so I'm not entirely worried about him to the point where I'm going to try to counter it. Let's try this shot again, see if I can actually hit it this time. Nope, somebody else got him. USS Texas by the looks of it. And we'll work on this bot cruiser here and try to get that out of the circle. These guys aren't in the circle. This guy is. And these are all bots that are in the circle. So let's see, he's going to go down. Let's try to pop a shot at... Let's send some secondaries this guy's way just to get him to ward off. But I'm going to try to hit this guy. He's showing his full broadside. No, he's turning a little bit. But I'm going to see if I can hit him right about there. There's some torpedoes coming in over there, so I'm not going to keep speeding up. I'm going to back off so that I don't run into those. I don't really have the speed mods on this yet, so it's a bit to take this ship to maneuver. I just missed that. And it looks like his belt armor defeated a lot of these shells, which is a rather troublesome part about these Russian battleships. I've noticed just from how their shells come in, they don't really like to punch through belts unless you get a lot closer. So I think my next shot's going back here. He is varying his speed, which makes it hard for me to judge where I should put my shells. But it looks like he's coming to a complete stop again like he was before. So I'm going to drop the shells right around where I think his rear magazines are going to be. And those are way off, jeez. Apparently he was still slowing down. I did get towards his boiler rooms though, so he won't be able to do too much with that. Well, he will be able to move around still, but he's backing up. I do want him out of the match though. I think he's got some better ships, but I just want him to not exist. It looks like he did notice that I was engaging him. Of course, the automatic flooding damage control's going off because we can't fix that bug. That's more of the shot I was looking for. He's got a turret on fire, which is not good for German battleships, and that was the result I wanted. So he's out of the way. That threat to my team is gone. There's another German battlecruiser moving in there. Let's see, that's a North Dakota. That is a bot battlecruiser that I think, if I put my shells into that forward turret, we won't have to worry about him either. Not that he's a threat, but more so because he's in the circle, and I want that lead for my team. I am going to try to win this. Like I said, I'm not going to play overly aggressively. Nice, that was a magazine hit. But I am going to force this in order to get my team to the win, so if I do sink once, so be it. Now he is in the circle and he is into the danger range. That is a Poltava. It's the nice thing about arcade is I can check that list and see what I'm facing. So I think Poltavas are fairly similar to German battleships per just exploding when their turrets get set on fire. And they also don't have a ton of armor under the waterline. So I'm going to try to punch one right through his bow. It's probably not going to work. No, I only got his main batteries. So I kind of need him to turn sideways before I really do anything about him. That's another German battlecruiser that's directly on my side. I'm not too impressed with that. And this Derflinger has actually moved into the circle, so I do want to engage him. I'm going to have to wait on that guy. He's not going for a revenge kill, which is always nice to see. So let's go for that Derflinger. I think if I drop my shells right about here, I might be able to punch through and get down to his magazine. At the very least, I want to set his turrets on fire and repeat what I just did to that AirSats York. And it looks like, oh, I got a rear turret with that, the amazing spread of the Soviet shells. Thankfully, I got a lot of guns on this ship. So, is that shell room going to go up, though, is the question. Because I did damage the shell room and I did set him on fire. I guess regardless, he's still sailing in a straight line, so I'm going to try that same shot again and see if RNG is going to agree with me. I really don't like how close that guy's getting. I might actually turn. Yeah, I'm going to turn because there's nothing on my right side to really bother me. So I'm going to turn to face my armor basically towards this battlecruiser that I'm engaging, so that I'm angled to that Poltava in case he decides he wants to play ball. And I did start some flooding on that Derflinger. He's flooding pretty hard, but I don't think he's going to flood all the way out. So I think if I lean towards the back of the ship and lob a set of shells that way, I might be able to flood him out completely. Or at least I'm going to make an attempt of it, because I don't want him to be in the circle anymore. I got a magazine shot on the back and his turret's on fire, so maybe he'll just go up completely. I did not cause, or did I cause more flooding? It doesn't really look like it. I really don't like where that Poltava is, but I do want to finish this guy off. So let's sail another shell towards his rear mags, and then I'll turn to engage this Poltava. It does look like my team is kicking the bots out of the circle, which is nice to see that I'm not the only one participating in this. Ooh, I got another battlecruiser engaging me. He has decided he is unhappy with what I've been doing, and thankfully I slowed down so he missed my front mag. Wow, that Derflinger absolutely does not want to die. He's sitting still again. I don't know why he's doing that. That just makes it really, really easy for me to punch into him. I do think he just turned his engines on. Ooh. Now the Poltava wants to play ball. Can I get that fire out before it punches into my shell room? Probably not. Nope. So I am going to lose my front gun to that. That's okay. I can deal with the flooding. He looks like... I was going to say he got distracted, but it looks like he's not. I'm going to try to punch this Poltava back because it is a closer target. And I think I can hit him right about here. Because that AirSats doesn't seem to realize that I lost my front battery already. He's still trying to shoot for it. And there's, well, a turret fire for the Poltava. It's not the ammo elevator I was looking for. But that's okay because that ship has a really long reload time, and having one less turret will actually help me out greatly when fighting him. One less turret on him, I mean. He did put that fire out though, which is kind of a pain, and it looks like his gun's back in action. So let's try that shot again. I'm going to put that out because I don't want it to spread to my magazine. He looks like he might be trying to back up. I'm going to lead that like I did before and see where those go. And that's about what I was hoping for. I got his turret on fire again. It is a bit of a pain when you're being engaged by two different ships at once, but thankfully this is a pretty survivable ship. Put that turret out again. I have to keep canceling the flooding even though I want to take care of that. I don't really know what finished off the Poltava. I think that was a friendly. But now I can deal with the AirSats. And I'm just going to... I think he's stopping. I'm going to put it back here. He's still aiming for my front battery. He doesn't know that I lost my shell room up there already. Though the fires that he's setting are rather annoying. I can't unflood my ship because he keeps setting those fires. And while I'm not doing a ton of damage to him, I think this is going to add up over time. Oh, he set my back turret on fire. That's painful. I'm going to have to repair that first so I can get more firepower downrange. I'm surprised this Derflinger hasn't joined in. It does look like he's starting to aim more towards the middle of my ship. No, he's still aiming for that front turret. cancel both of these, get that fire out again. It's not in my guns. Well, I just set his on fire. But it is still a threat, and there he goes. That's the joy of playing German ships. If you get a fire in your turrets, you're basically done. So now that the threats on my side are done... Ooh, that's a Bayern. Alright, there might still be a threat on my side if that guy decides he still doesn't like me. But now this Derflinger has decided to engage me. He got a fire in the middle of my ship. Nothing too impressive, but I'll take care of that. And I'm going to try to punch into his front turrets here. There's a TU-2 off to my side. I don't have a lot of anti-aircraft firepower on this ship, so hopefully he leaves me alone. He probably won't. And it looks like that Bayern over there might be firing on me as well. Which at this point I think I'm way out in front of my whole team. So I can't really blame him for that. I would really like that turret to repair though, so that I can have a little bit more firepower to deal with this Derflinger. And his bell absolutely ate all that. That's kind of impressive. So I lost one gun barrel to that. I think I'm actually going to cancel that repair and deal with the flooding so I can actually maneuver. He dropped a torpedo at me, so I'm going to start turning more. And let's try to hit his back batteries. His belt armor is a lot better at closer ranges. Did I eat that? Yeah. It really didn't do much to me. Those are pretty wimpy torpedoes. But I'm taking a lot of damage here. It's not the best situation. There we go. I got his rear mag. Let's put that fire out. We'll deal with the flooding in a little bit. I'm going to try to get away from that Bayern. I could probably deal with him, but I really want to focus on getting rid of some of these ships in the cap zone, because right now he's just sitting outside of the cap. He's not really bothering me. I mean, he is going to start whittling away my crew with those guns, but he's not much of a threat. He seems to like to sit on the outside of the map and not really do too much. So I'm going to focus on the ships in the cap circle that are a problem. What am I missing? This one. Can I punch into your rear batteries? Because if I can deal with these, I can get my team a decent advantage. But it doesn't look like they're going to go down too easily. It's the one bad thing about these Russian guns. When you get really close, they don't really dive. They just go straight into the armor belt of the enemy. So it makes it somewhat hard to deal with stuff that has a decent armor belt right at their waterline. Unless you can somehow convince them to dive, but as you've noticed, these are rather inaccurate guns, and they don't always like to perform the way you'd want them to. And that was kind of a wimpy shot. I could have done a lot better there if it had actually hit the enemy battleship. But I do have quite a few broken barrels. I think it's that cruiser way off to the side knocking out my barrels. So what I'll probably do is repair those in a second here. Start dealing with the flooding again. I'm going to cancel that. And let's see if these actually want to penetrate now that they have fixed barrels. And as you can see, I'm slowing down again. I'm trying to juke that Bayern shots at least a little bit. That's more like it. Because he is still mad at me. And I probably could punish him for that. But I'm going to give it a second. Because he's really not much of a threat to my team. Especially with him just focusing me down and not being in the circle at all. I do think one of these bombers is going to go for me, probably the one I just highlighted. So I'm going to try to get a couple more shots off before that. Yeah, that Ju-87's definitely coming for me. He is unhappy with my presence, and I can't really blame him. hopefully that'll finish off that guy so that my team will have a decent lead if I do go down here. And I'm going to start turning just to make it a slightly harder target for that bomber. But I don't really have much defense against him because, well, there's no anti-aircraft firepower on this battleship for the most part. I'm going to try to put that fire out and deal with the flooding. I think I can live a little bit longer. You're going for the circle, so you're going to disappear. That battleship's in our back line, but we're going to win this match. I think I've sat in the circle long enough that they can't really do anything about me. And we've got enough of a lead that I think we can win even just by sinking the enemy team. Yeah. Yeah, he's coming in for another run. That'll probably put me on the bottom. We're just, yeah, he hit the front of my bow again. I'm not sure why he hit the same spot, but, you know, I lived, so not a bad match. Even though my ship isn't fully decked out, I could still sit in that circle and basically bully the enemy team out of it. And really what they should have done is push into me like that Der Flinger did. He was probably one of the biggest threats. Next to, well, that Poltava also pushed into me, so props to both of them. But really, that's kind of my mindset of going through these. You kind of have to judge which enemies are actually threats and deal with those first when they do become threatening to you, while also paying attention to the cap zone and trying to push to make it so that your team actually wins. You can basically, with the right ship of course, frontline for your whole team, angle towards threats, deal with them as they come up and show an easy broadside for you, and then just win matches. I can't say this works all the time. I lose plenty of matches on my own, and I definitely can't carry in every ship. Even in this ship, I probably shouldn't have lived as long as I did, but hopefully this wasn't as scuffed as I think it was. If you guys like it, I'll do this a little bit more so you can actually see what I'm thinking during the games rather than me just explaining it in a video afterwards. But good luck out there, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.